Fear is something we all struggle with because we're human and we're not perfect. Fear is an unpleasant emotional state that is characterized by anticipation of pain or great distress. That definition comes from Webster's Third International Dictionary. And then Michael P. Green has a great story that shows a great example of what fear can do. Have you ever had to paint a second or third story of a house and you have to use a really tall ladder? Okay, so you're going up the ladder, everything is fine until you get about halfway up on the ladder. Then you look down and you're like, okay, I am really high up. But you're like, okay, I need to get this job done, so I'm going to go a little bit higher to be able to reach to paint. So you go up one step at a time. You know, you're really scared because it's really high up. But you're like, I need to get this job done. So you keep going up, You know, you keep stopping because you keep looking down, you keep thinking about that. But you think logically, you're like, okay, I have never seen a ladder like this fall over before, so logically, I should be fine. So you're like, okay, I'm going to keep going. And you go up one at a time. By the time you've reached the top of the ladder, you're able to reach to paint. So you start painting, okay? You start thinking about what you need to do. Then once you've gotten that done, you look at the great job you did, and you were able to overcome your fear. You didn't fall off the ladder, and you got your job done. So it helps us with a life lesson of once you overcome your fear, then you're able to get a job done. God gave us the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind to overcome fear. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." So my first point is God has given us the spirit of power to overcome fear. He has given us the spirit of power to overcome fear through his omnipotence, which omnipotence means all-powerful, and God is all-powerful. And he gives us just a little bit of that power so that we are able to overcome our fear. Matthew 19:26 says, "But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." So of course it's not possible with us. We are to know that it's possible only through Christ. So that's where our faith comes in. We have to put our faith in God so that he can make it happen. God also has power over Satan, where fear comes from. This quote by Eleanor Doan really helps with this. Fear is unbelief parading in disguise. So yeah, when we are not putting our belief and trust in God, that's when we are overcome by fear. Fear is from Satan, not from God. So we can't let what Satan does dictate what we do. Not only does God give us the spirit of power, but he also gives us the spirit of love. God is the best example of love. So Romans 5:8 says, "But God commended his love toward us," showed us his love toward us, "and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us." So while we were yet unlovable, while we were sinners, that is when Christ died for us. Well, we were even sinners. We're still sinners, but God covered that through his death. God loves us so much, and he does not want us to fear. Again, fear comes from Satan. It happens because of Satan, and he's the one that gives us that. So God loves us so much that he doesn't want us to fear. Not only does God give us the spirit of power and of love, but also the spirit of a sound mind. God gives us peace in him so that we do not have to fear. The hymn, "How Can I Fear?" correctly sums this up and shows us that peace only comes from Christ. Our true peace comes from Christ. And that is very encouraging, because when we're tempted to fear and when we are tempted to be overcome by fear, it's encouraging to know that peace comes through Christ and Christ only. God gives us victory over our fear through his presence. Exodus 33:14 says, "And he said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest." So it's nice to know that God is always with us. When we are tempted to fear, and when we want to fear, and when we are overcome by fear, just knowing that he is with us, that is a great encouragement. Because when you're fearful and when you're fearing, a lot of times you're like, okay, I'm alone in this. And to know that you really aren't alone and God is with you, that is the best thing to know. And he is the one that gives us true peace and rest to overcome our fear. So God gave us the spirit of power, love, and of a sound mind to help us overcome fear. The hymn, How Can I Fear, correctly sums this all up. How can I fear? Jesus is near. He ever watches over me. Worries all cease. He gives me peace. How can I fear but Jesus? And then these are my notes.